father made him an offer he couldn't refuse. Luca Brasi held a gun to his head, and my father assured him that either his brains or his signature would be on the contract. That's my family, Kay. It's not me.
There are moments in your life that feel like choices, but are actually exits closing behind you. You make a difficult decision. You tell yourself it's temporary. You tell yourself you can still turn back. And somewhere along the way, that version of yourself you were so convinced you'd become just disappears. The Godfather is the story of a man who believed he had already made his choice. A decorated Marine, the youngest son, the one his father kept clean. Michael Corleone walked into his sister's wedding in 1945 absolutely certain of who he was and just as certain of who he would never become. That certainty is what makes this story devastating. Every man carries a version of himself he still believes in. The question Francis Ford Coppola spent 3 hours asking and never quite lets us answer is this: when exactly did Michael Corleone stop being that man?
My brother Sonny was a kid. He found Tom Hagen in the street, and he had no home. And so my father took him in, and he's been with us ever since. He's a good lawyer, not a Sicilian. I think he's going to be consigliere.
What's that?
That's like a counselor, an advisor. Very important to the family.
Just look at him in that Marine uniform and the non-Italian woman on his arm. In a garden full of dark suits, Sicilian handshakes, and men who orbit his father like planets around a sun, Michael Corleone looks like someone passing through. That is exactly the point. This is not a costume choice, it is a statement. He is telling everyone at that wedding, without saying a single word, precisely who he is, and more importantly, who he is not. Watch how he explains his family to Kay in that scene. He describes them the way someone describes a country they visited once, with knowledge, even a kind of quiet pride, but no ownership. He knows what a consigliere is. He knows what Luca Brasi does. He understands every layer of this world. He has simply decided none of it belongs to him. That distinction matters more than anything else in this story. Michael Corleone's transformation is not the story of a man who discovered darkness. It is the story of a man who always knew exactly where the darkness was and chose for years to stand just outside it. 5 things define him at this moment. He is an outsider, a war hero, intelligent, honest, and devoted to Kay, a woman who represents every version of his future that required none of what his family built. His father had a name for that future: Senator Corleone, Governor Corleone, clean power, a son who would hold the strings without getting blood on his hands. Vito spent his entire life building toward that version of Michael. He never accounted for what it would cost to keep it.
I said that I would see because I heard that you were a serious man, to be treated with respect. But I must say no to you, and I'll give you my reasons. It's true, I have a lot of friends in politics, but they wouldn't be friendly very long if they knew my business was drugs instead of gambling, which they regard as a harmless vice, but drugs is a dirty business.
Vito Corleone built his empire on a specific kind of discipline. Not just violence, not just fear. He built it on a code. Keep narcotics out. Keep politicians friendly. Keep the family's name attached to power that the polite society could quietly tolerate. Vito believed with complete conviction that the code was what protected him, that as long as he held the line would hold him back. Virgil Sollozzo came to him with a drug proposal. Vito said no, making it very clear he wasn't breaking that code for anybody.
I have a sentimental weakness for my children, and I spoil them, as you can see. Talk when they should listen. Anyway, Senor Sollozzo, my no is final.
The problem was not the number. The problem was what happened just before it. Sonny, the eldest son, the heir apparent, reacted to the drug proposal with visible interest. Vito silenced him immediately, but Sollozzo had already seen it. He had seen that the Corleone family was not a single mind. One son would say no, another might say yes. That gap is all he needed. A few weeks later, Vito is shot 5 times buying oranges on a street corner. His principal cost him nearly everything. Michael hears about it while he is out with Kay, and something shifts before he has even decided to let it shift. He does not weigh his options. He does not deliberate. 5 years of Marine training move his body toward his father before his mind has finished processing the news. He arrived at the hospital late at night, and there was his father, still alive, but completely exposed.
I'm Michael Corleone. This is my father.
6 words. And in those 6 words, something permanent begins. At the wedding, Michael explained the family name to Kay like a tour guide. Here, in a darkened hospital corridor with his father's life hanging in the balance, he wields it, not as a disclaimer, as an identity. The man who said, "It's not me," is standing in the one place where it has always been him, whether he admitted it or not. Vito spent his entire life building a fortress around this family, building it specifically so Michael would never have to stand in a moment like this one. And yet, here is Michael, standing right in the middle, because the fortress, in trying to protect everyone inside it, had also drawn every enemy toward it. From this night forward, Michael is no longer a visitor to his family's world. He has started to belong to it. The night at the hospital does not end with Michael saving his father. It ends with a corrupt police captain named McCluskey on Sollozzo's payroll, ordering Vito's guards removed from the building. When Michael objects, McCluskey hits him hard, in the jaw, in front of witnesses, and then walks away. Most people who watched this scene saw it as some kind of setup, like an explanation to justify why Michael got involved. It is much more than that. Think about what Michael believed when walking into that hospital. He had served his country. He had fought a war on the right side. He had kept himself clean, deliberately and at some personal cost, because he believed the world outside his family operated by different rules, better rules, rules you could trust. McCluskey just showed him the truth. The institution built to protect ordinary citizens can be bought. The law is not clean. The protector can be the predator, and there is no neutral ground left to stand on. The army rewarded valor. The family, for all its darkness, at least has a code. The law just broke his jaw for trying to keep his father alive. From this moment, Michael's faith in any system outside the Corleone family is finished.
You're taking this very personal. Tom, this is business, and this man is taking it very, very personal.
It's not personal, Sonny. It's strictly business.
Notice who says it first. It's not Sonny, it's not Tom, it's Michael. In an attempt to justify his quest for vengeance, he rationalized the move to take Sollozzo out with the logic of business. And you know why? Because it makes the choice feel like strategy, rather than crossing a point of no return.
This is business, not personal.
They shot my father.
Even the shooting of your father was business, not personal, Sonny.
Tom says it as a restraint, a way of keeping Sonny from burning everything down. Michael hears it as a blueprint. He will carry this exact logic forward further than Tom ever intended it to go, applying it to decisions Tom would never have sanctioned. The consigliere meant it as a ceiling. Michael turns it into a foundation.
I'm glad you came, Mike. I hope we can straighten everything out.
Let's straighten everything out tonight.
Sollozzo thinks he is beginning a negotiation. Michael has already ended it. Watch his face in this scene. There is no music. Coppola strips the score completely, and what is left is the sound of a man who has gone somewhere inside himself that most people never go. He lights a cigarette. He sits perfectly still. He listens to Sollozzo talk. He excuses himself to the bathroom, finds the gun taped behind the toilet tank, comes back to the table, and sits down again. He waits. Then he shoots. He drops the gun on the floor. He walks out of the restaurant and does not look back. He had crossed a line that does not allow for crossing back. The only question left was whether he understood, in that moment, just how permanent it was. He disappears to Sicily, and for a brief window, it looks like the story might still go differently. Sicily is the one moment in this entire story where time slows down and the film almost lets Michael go. He is living under a different name in a village built from stone and silence. No business, no war council, no Sollozzo. The world that swallowed his father whole is 4,000 miles away. And for a stretch of weeks, Michael Corleone looks like a man who might actually get out. Michael ignores that advice from Collot, and he falls. What Michael builds with Apollonia is not an escape from who he is. It is proof that who he was could still exist. Watch how he pursues her. He follows every Sicilian courtship tradition without being taught, without being told. He asks her father's permission. He sits with the family. He is patient, formal, genuine. This is not a man performing culture. For someone who spent years declaring himself an outsider to everything his bloodline carried, this is the first time in the film he looks like he belongs somewhere real. Then, Sonny is killed at a toll booth in New York. Shot so many times they have to identify him by his watch. The family's future dies with him. Michael is still in Sicily when it happens, still building something. Every other door in Michael's life closed gradually. He could feel them closing. He had time to watch it happen, to tell himself it was still a choice. This one detonated. He had built something real. A wife, a home, a name that did not carry the weight of everything his family had done. And it was taken from him the same way everything gets taken in the world his father built. Without warning, without mercy, without a second chance to choose differently. Now, he has nowhere to go but home. And the man who came back was not the one who left. When Vito Corleone brokered peace with the 5 families, he gave them the one thing he had refused Sollozzo with absolute finality. He accepted the narcotics business. By doing that, Vito broke the code he held so dear. And his reason for doing it is simple. Sonny was dead, and Michael needed safe passage home. This is the first full rotation of the father-son mirror, and it matters more than almost any other moment in the film. Vito taught Michael, without meaning to, that principle has a breaking point. That when the pain is great enough, the code bends. He looked at his own life's work and concluded that the family came first, above the rules he had built. Michael watched his father reach that conclusion. He drew the only logical lesson available to him. The code is not wisdom. The code is the weakness.
I never wanted this for you. I worked my whole life. I don't apologize to take care of my family, but I thought that when it was your time that you would be the one to hold the strings. Senator Corleone, Governor Corleone, something.
This is not a speech, it is a confession. This is Vito telling his youngest child that he failed him, that the life he wanted to build for him had produced something else entirely. The tragedy underneath the tragedy is this. Michael has already moved past grieving the life his father wanted for him. He has accepted what he is. His father has not. Vito is mourning a future that Michael buried in Sicily.
I thought you weren't going to become a man like your father.
My father's no different than any other powerful man. Any man who's responsible for other people. Like a senator or a president.
You know how naive you sound. Senators and presidents don't have men killed.
Oh, who's being naive, Kay?
Michael is not being performative here. He genuinely means every word. He has built a complete internal logic in which what the Corleone family does and what governments do are morally indistinguishable. Power protects itself. Power removes obstacles. Power calls whatever it does by a different name and then shakes hands at dinner. Vito wanted his son to be a senator. His son decided senators and dons are the same thing. Kay is the last person in Michael's life who can see through this logic, and she is already losing the argument. Months later, Vito dies in the garden. A heart attack, mid-afternoon, while playing with his grandson between the tomato plants. He built an empire for this family. He died in a vegetable patch, and Michael, who now inherits everything, inherits with it the lesson his father never meant to teach him. Power does not protect the people you love. It just makes you better at deciding who pays the price. There is a sequence near the end of this film that film students still study 50 years later, not because it is shocking, but because it is precise. Coppola cuts between 2 events happening at the same hour, a baptism in a cathedral, a series of executions across New York City. He places the same organ music underneath both, hands folded over a child, hands closing around a weapon, the ceremony of spiritual protection and the consolidation of criminal power, all braided together so tightly that you cannot separate where one ends and the other begins. This is not irony, it is a verdict written in the shadows.
Michael Francis Rizzi, do you renounce Satan
I do renounce him.
and all his works?
I do renounce them.
The baby has been named for him. He is standing at the altar, vowing to protect this child from evil, to guide him away from darkness, at the exact moment his orders are being carried out across the city. He is not being hypocritical. That is the most important thing to understand about this scene. Michael has become so complete in what he is that no contradiction is available to him anymore. He means the vow. He means the murders. Both are, in his mind, the same act. To him, it's still protection, the removal of threats, the maintenance of a world where the people he loves remain safe. Vito built power as a shield. Michael uses a sacrament to consolidate an empire. He is not protecting his family. He is eliminating obstacles.
Only don't tell me you're innocent, because it insults my intelligence. It makes me very angry.
He demands truth from everyone around him. he will not extend it to anyone. That is the final shape of what Michael Corleone has become, a man who requires honesty from others while administering deception with complete composure.
Is it true? No.
When Michael said no, he was not protecting Kay from the truth. He was protecting the version of himself she still believed in. Without it, there is nothing left of the original Michael Corleone, except a memory neither of them can afford to name.
Don Corleone.
The door does not close on a man who changed. It closes on the confirmation that the change has already happened, long before this room, long before the baptism, long before Sicily. The door is just the moment the audience is finally allowed to admit what they have been watching for 3 hours. The man inside is Don Corleone. The man who stood at that wedding and said, "It's not me," was long gone. Many just didn't notice.